is your host, Dan Kuschell.
Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that helps you transform your life, business, and relationships. I'm Dan Kuschell, and thanks for making us part of your day. We've got a great show today, and as you probably know if you've been listening for some time, this show presented by Genius Network, and all of our guests brought to you by the Genius Network Hotline. We'd love to connect with you. You can join us on Twitter at Dan_Kuschell. That's DAN_Kuschell, Kuschell. Or feel free to email us right here at the show at info@growthtofreedom.com. So we're going to dive into it to give you more clarity, confidence, capabilities, and direction today. Oh, and by the way, stay tuned because we've got a very special, limited, free gift package available for you today. We're going to talk about that more in just a few minutes. And today, we're going to talk about Unleash Your Genius Part 2. Yes, Part 2. Why? Last week, I started making some promises about some things we were covering, and I ran out of time. Would you believe it? Ran out of time, so guess what I did? I said, "You're fired," to the guest who was scheduled for today. That's right. I booted him right out of the chair and said, "You know what? Got to put it on hold because I made some promises to our listeners, to our viewers, and we're going to dive into it today." So it's Unleash Your Genius Part 2. It's a tribute to genius. Some of the things that I've been able to learn and blessed to learn from people like Joe Polish, Dan Sullivan, and more, right here on Growth to Freedom, your voice for growth, the voice for freedom, because freedom is the new capital. And here's something to take in mind. You might want to write this down, imprint it in your mind or your mind's eye. See, your freedom grows to the extent you grow. Think about that. Your freedom grows to the extent you grow. And what is freedom? You know, everybody's got their own version of a definition, but what would be freedom to you? What would be freedom for you? If you had freedom, what would that do for you, for your family? The ability to spend more time. You know, coming out of this weekend, I feel so grateful, so blessed that I was able to take my kids fishing. It was 90 degrees. Yes, here in Arizona, it is a dry heat. But I took my kids fishing the other morning. I was fortunate enough to go see a movie together. We went and saw The Monkey Kingdom. In fact, I'm going to talk about that because as is Disney-esque as Disney is, they built this incredible movie plot. My kids loved it, and I certainly saw a lot of the business side of Disney and The Monkey Kingdom. I'm going to talk to you about that. But before we do, here's another strategy and tip that I want to throw your way. To put into the memory bank, ideas times execution times confidence times teamwork equals maximum performance. So you can have a great idea, right? And you can have great execution, great teamwork, great confidence, but what is performance going to look like? It's going to suffer, right? I mean, you can have a great idea, even great execution. You can have great teamwork, but your confidence or your team's confidence low. What happens? Performance suffers. So today, I'm going to introduce you to some incredible tools and strategies to help you transform what you're doing on a daily basis. And in fact, I'm going to look at today like a coaching session, if you will. I don't do coaching anymore, but if I were doing coaching, this would be the gist of what I'd want you to think about. You know, what's the outcome that you'd like today to be for you? What would that outcome look like? I mean, think about that if you're driving right now, if you're listening, or maybe write it down. What's the outcome right now that you'd like to get out of our time together? And in fact, think about what are the top 3 outcomes or top 3 breakthroughs that you'd like to get in the next 90 days for you, your family, your loved ones, maybe your business, whatever it is, your relationships. And I want you to think about this. What is it that's getting in the way of hitting you at your very best for those outcomes? What are some of the things that might be getting in the way or could get in the way of making those happen? See, I took my kids fishing here this past weekend. It was a blast, but we ran into a few obstacles that got in our way. You know what? And see, have you ever been in a situation where you went out fishing, you didn't catch anything? Maybe it was in a business type deal. And you were like, man, this fishing just doesn't work. It works for everybody else, but it doesn't work for me. Well, I've been there, right? The frustration of maybe dealing with mistakes, with failure. What does that look like? What does that feel like? It's frustrating, right? Well, if other people are out there casting a line, throwing out their line and catching fish, it doesn't mean fishing doesn't work. It just means it's not working for you. What might you do? Well, you might need to change your bait, right? Might need to change the bait, or it might mean you need to go fish in another spot. And so it was with my kids. We ran into a couple snags, if you will, no pun intended, because we hit a few snags in the line. If my dad's watching right now or my family's watching right now, the lines we were using, the fishing rods we were using got snagged. And unfortunately, we couldn't make it work. So guess what? We had a choice to make. We decided to go pick up some new fishing rods. One of the other fishing lines that we were using, the weights fell off of it. We ran into a roadblock. So these are things that got in the way, right? And does that mean we throw our arms up in the air and quit? Right? What's that old saying? Winners never quit and quitters never what? You know the answer, right? Win. Quitters never win. And so it is with business. So it is with success. So I challenge you, as you're thinking about the show today or thinking about our time together, what would you like the outcome of our time together to be? What would be the ultimate outcome for you in the next 90 days? If you gave it everything you had and you could make it work, what would you want to have accomplished? Would it be more time with your family? Would it be more time with your friends? Would it be more to do the things that you want to do? Would it be maybe to get a new home, or maybe, go out and treat and spoil you and your spouse? Maybe it would be a massage, or maybe it would be a dinner out somewhere. Or maybe you'd be able to put more money away for savings or investments. Or maybe it would be to start that new business. Or maybe it would be to invest in yourself, into further education, greater education. That old saying, it's not what you know, but who you know. You want to change your life? Change your associations. And that's what I want us to think about today, because as we do this Tribute to Genius Part 2, Joe Polish and Dan Sullivan, I feel so grateful, because as I think about what Joe Polish and what Dan Sullivan and a lot of the people that are a part of a collaboration group called Genius Network, they're so good at realizing what they're good at, and more importantly, what they're not good at. And see, your to-do list is important, but your to-not-do list, or the not-to-do list, is far more important. And then there's a third list that Joe Polish teaches. It's the not-now list. So you can have the to-do list, but then there's the not now list. It goes on the schedule at some point. It may be what we would call the gold coin, but we want to set it aside. I mean, how many times have you found yourself in a place where you're overwhelmed, you're stuck? It was stuff getting in the way, right, of our success, whatever that might be, life, business, relationships. So we can set it aside and focus on the things that matter. And that's where today comes in. I want you to think about this question. What's your genius? What's your genius? I mean, you've got genius inside of you, right? That unique gift. What is it that makes you unique? What is it that makes you tick? What is that genius? And see, if you spent 60, 70, 80, 90% of your time focusing on your genius, and you were able to develop a way to delegate the other parts to other people who had a collaborative or a collected genius that complemented where would you be? What would your freedom look like? I mean, the ultimate business is basically to put yourself in a position where you're at your best in your genius, and you complement and surround yourself with a team. See, building a life, building success is a team sport. But guess what? You and I weren't taught that in school. We weren't taught that in college. We weren't taught that in our business classes, were we? So what's your genius? What's your genius? In fact, if you're able to write it down, I want you to write that down. What is it you do better than anybody else? And it might sound crazy. I mean, someone like Joe Polish, he's got an incredible talent list. But one of his genius talents is being a genius networker and doing what he calls genius networking. And when he does that, he's at his very best in a front stage manner, and allowing all the backstage things to be covered. And so guess what? We're going to talk about genius. We're going to talk about the Monkey Kingdom, the business of Disney. We're going to talk about this one-page Monday Focus Maximizer tool that I promise you will transform your productivity and take it to a whole new level. If you're at a 2, it'll take you to a 10. We're going to talk about the Fun Time tool. Could you use more fun in your life? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more coming up right after this break. Welcome back to GrowthToFreedom.com, the show that helps you transform your life, business, and relationships. If you're just joining us, let's go ahead and summarize the first segment of the show. We talked about 2 questions that, if applied, will absolutely transform the way you think about running your life, relationships, and business. What are those 2 questions, mind you? What's the outcome I'm looking for, and what are the things getting in the way? Literally, I start just about every day addressing those two questions. What's the outcome I want? And what are the things getting in the way? And if you do that enough times throughout imagine doing that 365 days a year, what would your results look like? I mean, that simple little business practice, that simple business multiplier pays huge dividends to help you achieve the freedom that you truly deserve, that you desire, that you're going after. So those two questions. We talked about what is your genius? I'm going to give you a simple model to be able to put in place so that when you're in an elevator, right, you've heard about doing that elevator pitch, or maybe you've heard, someone says, well, what is it you do? How would you like to have a way to capture someone's interest, attract them to what you're doing instead of repel them and push them away like a lot of people do because they fire hose people instead of working to attract them? Well, we're going to share that with you. We're going to talk about, we talked about the concept of execution times ideas times confidence times teamwork gives you maximum performance. And we're going to talk about the monkey kingdom, the business of Disney, right? We're going to talk about the business of Disney and a whole lot more. And we talked about what you know versus who you know. So what is your genius? Who are you at your very best? We talked about Joe Polish. Again, he's got an incredible array of talents, but he's a genius networker. He focuses on being a genius networker and facilitates genius networking. And as an example, I took some time here at the break to sit down, when people ask me, well, what I do, and there's a variety of ways that I can answer that. And this tool actually comes from Genius Network and one of the tools that we utilize. And it's built off an old framework. I forget where I learned it some 20 years ago. It's about a unique selling proposition. I mean, what is it that makes you unique? One way you could look at it is, do you know how, and then fill in the blank of the problem, and what I do is, and then fill in the blank of the solution. So this is a rendition of that version, which is, I'm, state your name, I've got, and then fill in the blank that gives, fill in the blank that gets, fill in the blank, and I want help with fill in the blank. So I'm Dan Kuschell. I've got a method to grow and scale companies 10 times while reducing complexity. It gives Joe, Genius Network, and our clients more clarity, confidence, and direction that gets results by merging elegant ideas, execution, teamwork, and confidence to produce 10 times results. Now, what I need help with is always looking for talent. We're always looking for talent. We're also looking for people to be a part of our Genius Network and our Genius Network event. Again, this show presented by Genius Network. You want to learn more, you can go to geniusnetworkevents.com or 25kgroup.com as well. So that will give you a framework. So think about it in terms of you. What is your genius? What is it you do better than anybody else that would cause someone to go, hey, I want to learn more. Tell me how you do that exactly, right? So do you know how? Fill in the problem. What I do is fill in the solution. Or I've got fill in the blank that gives fill in the blank that gets fill in the blank I want help with fill in the blank, right? So hopefully that framework gives you a good framework. So let's jump to the one-page Monday Maximizer, this tool that I've been using a version of this for years. And I believe that if you apply, what would it be worth if you had a simple way within 5 minutes a day or less to build momentum, focus your energy to do the right things, right? Because there's a concept that I learned from Joe, Dan Sullivan, and our Genius Network group. It's about the idea that you can focus on the right things or do the right thing. See, write that down. It's so incredibly important. It's do the right things or focus on the right things, right? And there's such an incredible difference when you do. Well, what this Monday Focus Maximizer does, not only personally, but also if you're a leader, if you're a manager, or you're executive, or you're a business owner or entrepreneur running teams of people, this one-page tool can transform your organization. Why? Because it brings the ultimate unity, it brings the ultimate clarity, the ultimate confidence, and ultimate direction, because you can get people on the same page, and it bridges the gap with communication and creates a framework for maximum success. So let me walk you through a couple of the simple ideas. Number one, what are your top 3 focuses or breakthroughs you're focusing on this week? The top 3 focuses or breakthroughs this week, right? How am I doing? How am I feeling, right? How am I feeling? How am I doing? Number 3, my theme for the week. My theme for the week. what's working, right? What's working for you? What's working for your organization? What needs improvement, right? And what do I need from the team? What do I need from the team? And then how do I rate my attitude? So it's a quick check-in. How do I rate my attitude? How do I rate my work ethic on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being greatest, and my productivity? So for example, top 3 focuses for the week. Obviously we've got this show. It's to deliver value, to be a servant leader to you, right? Another aspect of that as a focus is we're in the process of doing reviews with our team. So doing those reviews to be able to make sure we get maximum engagement, maximum contribution, and unity and accelerated growth, right? Number 3, we're building out some marketing campaigns right now. And so we're really focused on dialing those in, right? So those 3 things are good examples. How am I feeling? Rejuvenated, right? I had a great weekend with my kids, was lucky enough to see the movie, go fishing, took my son out. We had a big sports day together. What's working? I feel that teamwork's working, momentum's working, the growth is working. The practices we're putting in place are working. Consistency is working. What needs improvement? Well, I'm kind of a nitpicker. I don't know. Do you know anybody like that? I'm a perfectionist. And so for me, communication can always be improved. Communication, right? What do I need from the team? Well, there's several little things here, and I won't go into those, but what do I need from the team? There's certain pieces related to making this show happen. We've got our video team. That's a big part of what we do, right? We've got our audio team that does some editing. We've got our social media team. I mean, there's a lot of things go. We've got our audio engineer here in the studio. A lot of things going behind the scene to make this show what it is, right? With our marketing campaign, we got a lot of people involved. So it takes great commitment. It takes great focus. It takes great contribution, communication, all those types of things to pull things off, right? So what do we need from the team? How do I rate? It's real hard for me to rate myself a 10. So for sake of being a little less of that perfectionist, I'm going to rate myself a 9.5 in attitude, a 9.5 in my work ethic, and a 9.5 in my productivity. How'd you score, by the way? And imagine if you wrote those questions down. And by the way, you can go review this episode at growthtofreedom.com/8 and rewatch this to be able to get these tips, these strategies, these best practices to put in place, right? And if you want to go back to a previous episode, last week's tribute to Genius, Joe Polish, Dan Sullivan, the impact filter, the Genius Network tool, you can go to growthtofreedom.com/7 to be able to get those details. But imagine if you were able to put this in place with you, your team, even your family. I have my kids actually working on versions of this. And imagine if you had 2 teams. One team uses a tool like this every week for 52 weeks, and another team doesn't. Who do you think at the end of that 52 weeks got more done, more momentum, more focus, more accomplishment, more outcomes? I think the answer is pretty simple. How about you? And I want to give that gift to you. So I challenge you, put it in place. Utilize it. Refer to it. Hey, make it better, improve upon it, innovate upon it. So let's jump into the business of Disney here. Because the business of Disney and Monkey Kingdom is fascinating. I mean, I went to this movie with my kids, Kira and Kyler. We had a treat. It was a treat with my wife. And, it's so interesting because it was a great storyline. It's about the hero's journey, right? It's about the hero's journey in the Monkey Kingdom. And do you realize that there's actually a social class system for monkeys? Who would have known there's a social class for monkeys? It was a trip. And anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk about the social class for monkeys and how it relates to you. We're going to talk about how it doesn't matter where you've been. It only matters where you want to go. We're going to talk about more Genius tool. We're going to talk about the Fun Time tool. We're going to talk about the 4 C's, right? And a whole lot more when we come back. But before we do, I promised you this very special free gift package. In fact, it's valued at $197, and it's yours free today. And let me tell you about the gift package. We're going to give you our best-selling book, A Champion in the Making, Awaken the Champion Within Your Life, Business, and Relationships, the book Walking with the Wise, with over 30 of the highest level experts and mentors in the world. We've got our audio program. We've got our video program available to you right now when you call our office at 602-246-3389. That's 602-246-3389. We'll get you these 2 best-selling books, the audio program, the video program. When you pick up the phone and call 602-246-3389, they're yours free. Or you can go to our website at growthtofreedom.com growth-to-freedom.com/gift. That's growth-to-freedom.com/gift. They're yours when you pick up the phone or go to our website right now, and we'll be back right after this break to talk about the Fun Time tool and a whole lot more. Back to growth-to-freedom.com, the show that helps you transform your life, business, and relationships. Again, the show presented by Genius Network. All our guests made available by the Genius Network hotline. Thanks for making us part of your day. This has been an awesome beginning to the show. Let's recap the last two segments of the show. We've been talking about unleashing your genius. We've been talking about two incredible questions to be asking yourself on a daily basis to really set the stage for exponential breakthroughs. Number one, what's the outcome we want? And number two, what are the things that are or may get in the way, right? Those two questions are incredibly powerful. We've been talking about the Monday Focus Maximizer and the questions that go with that. We've been talking about what's your genius? Like, who are you at your very best? I mean, what would that be like? I mean, what is it you do better than anybody else? And what is it you do better than anyone else effortlessly? You see, a lot of us have gotten into what Dan Sullivan and Joe Polish call success traps, right? And success traps are those things we do only out of necessity, not because we really want to do them. You know, there are certain things, if you're an entrepreneur or business owner, you get really, really good at out of necessity of having to cover payroll or having overhead or having to do marketing or generate clients, referrals, dealing with team members, and so on. But we don't necessarily enjoy doing them and doing them in an effortless way, right? And so what is it that you do at your very best front stage? And what are the things that you'd like to be doing backstage? That's the idea around what's your genius here. What is your genius? I'd love to hear from you. You can email us. I'd love to email us at the show. You know, we heard from one of our listeners, Violet, here. I have a good chance to talk to her over the weekend, actually. I randomly call out to those people who request our free gift package and just check in and see what they liked most. And Violet had some incredible things to say. I mean, she's an incredibly hard worker, has 3 degrees, right? A PhD, and she's just working really, really hard to make a great living and make a great life for her and her family. And that's what this show is about, inspiring you to tap into your genius, to be more, to do more, to get more, to achieve, to grow, to have the breakthrough that you truly deserve. So what is your genius? What is it that you do better than anyone else? And how could you introduce it when someone says, well, what do you do exactly? That you have a compelling, attractive way. You know, again, you can review back into this show, review back into the episode, or go download it on iTunes. You can go to the site at growth-to-freedom.com/8 and get your hands on this and rewatch it or re-listen to it to be able to pull these tips out for you and your family. So let's dive into this next segment. We're going to talk about the business of Disney. We're going to talk about the Fun Time tool, because let's face it, could we all use a little bit more fun and passion and joy in our life? Well, I've got a tool that I just want to walk you through a few of the, not all of it, but a few of the simple premises to get your mind thinking. You know what? You know, what's that old saying that all work and no play certainly makes Dan a really dull guy, right? All work and no play makes me a real pain in the you-know-what. You can fill in the blank on your own on that one, I promise you. My wife would definitely agree with that. My kids would certainly agree. I get really cranky. You know, people get cranky when they're not in a good mood. Well, a lot of times they're not in a good mood because they're not having fun. And again, that's why the Growth to Freedom show is what it is. Your freedom grows to the extent you grow as a person, mentally, physically, socially, spiritually, financially. It's about a holistic approach to life, you know, because we can be obsessed, right? We can be obsessively compulsive, and I am that. You know, I've got ADD. I've got a lot of dysfunctions. But you know what? You only have to get great at a few things functioning to really build a great life and make a big impact, to make a difference, to be able to go out and do something big, something special. And I know that's inside of you. We want to introduce you to the experts that can bring that to you. So let's talk about the business of Disney here. And this movie, the Monkey Kingdom. I mean, do you realize that there's a social order of upper class, middle class, and lower class? That's pretty fascinating, isn't it, Matt? And what's amazing about that is, you know, this was a story. It was a hero's journey about someone living on the lower class and how they made their way up into the upper class. And I'm going to reveal that secret to you in a little. Actually, I'm not going to reveal it because I don't want to spoil the movie. You should go take your kids to it. Heck, even if you don't have kids, it's a fascinating movie to be able to check out, and it's a hero's journey, but it's a tribute to, it doesn't matter where you are, it just matters where you want to go. And there's a protagonist in this movie. There's definitely an antagonist in the movie, and guess what they also have? It's Disney-esque in nature, right? Guess what? There's a villain. Yes, in the Monkey Kingdom, there is a villain. And in fact, I'll give you a little teaser how this worked. There was a monkey group, a monkey clan, if you will, that came in to try to overtake the other monkey clan. And there was the villain in there. And anyway, you'll just have to go see it. But, the fact is what it was attributed, and I think first of all, my son Kyler, he's 7 at the time of this show. And he goes, Daddy, I didn't realize there was a different order of, lower class, upper class, and middle class. Now, the fact that my 7-year-old son realizes that is kind of interesting to me, and I find that fascinating. I wonder, well, am I on the right track or am I not? Maybe I'm teaching him too much business. But anyway, and he's getting a little too serious. But at the end of the day, right, think about it in your own life. It doesn't matter where you've been. It matters where you want to go. And if you want to change your life, one of the things sometimes we've got to be willing to do is we've got to change our associations. We got to change who we hang out with. We got to change or adjust or modify what we spend our time getting good at. I mean, in your genius, whatever that might be, what are you spending your time getting good at? Think about that question. What are you spending your time getting good at? See, I've got friends of mine who spend their time, they're really great at building models, meaning model cars and airplanes, right? And that's a hobby they have. But if they took that same energy and applied it towards, building a life, creating a life, having more fun and passion, right? What would that do for them? Life is meant to be what? Lived. Seize the day. Carpe diem, from one of my favorite movies as a kid called Dead Poets Society with Robin Williams. Seize the day. Carpe diem. So I want to hit on this fun time tool because I don't know anybody that couldn't use more fun, more enjoyment, more passion. And so this also is a tool that I've gotten from Joe Polish, and he's opened up a whole new world to hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs and literally thousands of service providers all over the world. Literally has impacted billions of dollars worth of growth in the last 15 to 20 years of business. So number one is, who are the people you actually have fun with? Have you ever stopped to think about that? I mean, consciously, I hope you'll write these down. Who are the people you have fun with? Whether it's at work or at home or family or friends. You know what? Just because, you're born into a family doesn't mean that you're locked in for life. I mean, I know people who don't have much fun at all with their family, and so they spend more time with other people who are outside of their family, and that's okay. Like me, if someone said to me, Dan, what is the most fun you have? Believe it or not, I have fun incorporating business and pleasure. Going on a trip, say to, we'll call it the islands, wherever that might be. It could be just about any island. I'd have a blast. But then incorporating some type of masterminding and conversation, just like this show. One of the reasons I started this show was the ability to I love having conversations with high-level entrepreneurs, business owners, people who get a charge in life, who are creating, making things happen, making a difference in the world, right? This is my own little island to a degree, and I get to do this on a weekly basis. So for you, who are the people you enjoy having fun with? Your fun list. What do you enjoy doing? When's the last time you stopped and actually thought about, you know what? I know there was a time in my life where dysfunctionally I had some addictive issues where it was about going out and drinking, right? I talk about this in my book. I may have been borderline alcoholic. I don't know. But it was out of boredom that I did that stuff. But when you put some focused, conscious effort into answering these things, what do you enjoy doing? It's amazing what will happen, a spark that it gives you. Joe calls it being an energy charger versus a battery charger versus a battery drainer in life, right? What are the things that give you a charge? And what are those things with yourself or others, right? Because those can be different. There are certain things you probably enjoy doing on your own, but there are certain things you enjoy doing in a group, right? How often have you done these in the last 6 months? How often have you done these in the last 6 months? And how often do you want to do these in the next 6 months? I mean, if you took some time to put that, and then go back to our original question today, which was, what's the outcome? So think of all those different questions as the outcome. And what are the things getting in the way? What are those obstacles? What are those dangers, right? And I challenge you, if you'll put this in place and start thinking, what is your fun action plan that you can have? Because what I want to do is talk to you about the ELF lifestyle, easy, lucrative, and fun instead of half, hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating, when we come back. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com, the show that helps you transform your life, business, and relationships. Let's do a recap of what we've been covering through the first 3 segments of the show. You know, we've been talking about what's your genius, like who would you be at your very best. We've been talking about a simple formula of how to introduce yourself as a genius, if you will, right? To compel people versus repel people. We've been talking about the one-page blueprint that allows you to maximize your focus. You know, if you use this compared to others who don't, I mean, watch what happens and the breakthroughs you experience. The 2 questions that you can be asking on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, annual basis, not only for you, but your team, your company, your life, right? What outcome do you want? What are the things getting in the way? We've been talking about the business of Disney, the hero's journey, and the monkey kingdom, and how that applies to you. And how if you want to go from where you are to where you really want to go, call it a higher lifestyle, a better life, better results, transformational results, exponential results. Well, number 1, it doesn't matter where you've been. It matters where you want to go. And number 2, if you want to change your life, change your associations. In other words, who you hang out with matters. You know, I think I heard it from Mark Victor Hansen first. He says, you know, your life is a direct result of the decisions you've made up till now. And those decisions and that impact is a direct result of the 5 key people. If you average their lifestyle, it will equal your lifestyle. So if you want to go up, adjust the associations, or find a group, or find a collaboration, or find a meetup group, or find a mentoring or mastermind group of where you can go up. We've been talking about the fun time tool, putting some focused, conscious effort. You know, as a person who, you know, has dealt with, you know, addictions and dealt with challenges and ADD, you know, I've got to be really focused on what are the things that I truly enjoy. And I know one of the greatest blessings for me has been my kids, right? To really set the stage for me, set the framework to really enjoy the moment. Because I have to admit, you know, right here, right now, that I haven't always enjoyed the moment. It was like I'd hit a certain goal, and it was like, what's next? And I'd go reach for that goal that was a higher goal, and it was like, what's next? And no matter how much or how big or how far it went, it was never enough. Have you ever been there? That's a sad way to live life. And there was a point in my life where I was sad. Yeah, I wasn't really at my very best. And I'm so grateful. And I don't know whether it was my kids or a combination of my own development. And that's why I created this Growth to Freedom show. Your freedom, right? Mentally, right? Imagine the freedom mentally of having peace of mind. What that would be worth to you. I know for me, it's been priceless. And that freedom is a direct result of the growth you go through mentally, physically, socially, spiritually, and emotionally and financially. And we're here to bring that to you on a regular basis, right? So we've been talking about the fun time tool, and we're going to talk about the 4 C's and how you can transform to ultimate results. And this is a tool that Dan Sullivan talks about, which is the 4 C's: commitment, courage, capability, and confidence, right? And thinking through, you know, what's the breakthrough that you've had in your past? And let's talk about it in the past, because in order to go from where you are to where you want to go, it helps to have a good reference point. So maybe you're looking at a breakthrough you'd like to have, but instead of looking at that breakthrough and maybe what's happened or what hasn't happened, let's talk about a breakthrough you've already had. Let's build into the confidence you've already gotten. So for me, I did this little exercise in prep for the show. The breakthrough that I had in the past was I started a radio show to help reach more people with my book. This was back in 2000, 2001. And the commitment I made to it, you know, so number 1 is the commitment, right? Thoughts are things. Thoughts create feelings, create actions, create results, create an outcome. So what's the commitment you're going to make to that breakthrough? And if you think about your past breakthroughs, what's the commitment been to it? So mine was moving to position myself as an expert to sell my book and fill events with the radio show. And you know, people ask me all the time, what was one of the biggest breakthroughs you had, Dan, in your success? And I remember back in 2000, 2001, when I actually was doing coaching, I went onto the show and I challenged the host on the show. I said, I guarantee that if you follow what I show you, I'll help you increase your income by over $100,000 a year. And I asked him, I said, you want to take me up on that challenge? What do you think he said? He said, yes. And, you know, I didn't know inside of my heart of hearts if he would be the right student that I could apply the right strategies to. But guess what? We combined the things we talked about earlier in the show of doing the right things, right? As well as doing the right thing and focusing on the right things. And it was amazing what happened. In 4 months and a couple days, he was able to transform his financial future and financial security. And to a degree, I guess it was kind of a hero's journey that we spotlighted on the show. And it helped me, accomplish a lot of confidence and clarity. But it started with that initial commitment. I was scared. I was afraid, right? Just like if you're trying something new, you're shooting for a breakthrough, especially if you're shooting for something big. I mean, anybody can go for small goals. But if you go for something transformational, exponential, and making a huge impact, well, that takes some fortitude, doesn't it? And so, number one, what's the commitment you've got to make? Number two, it's the courage, right? Which, again, this is a Dan Sullivan breakthrough model. Number two is the courage. I had never been on radio before. I didn't know what you do on radio. I didn't know what to say. So I had to come up with basically a way to communicate, and I practiced, and I wasn't very good at it, folks. Inside, I'm actually a shy, quiet, introverted person. You know people like that? As far as calls to action, I didn't know what a call to action was in a radio show. Are you kidding me? But I learned it, and I was bad in the first show, and I was worse, the worst I'd ever been in my first show, and I wasn't very good in the first 100 shows, and I'm still learning today. And by the way, speaking of call to actions, we brought up our free gift package. And I want to give you that free gift package and get you our 2 best-selling books. We've got an audio program for you. We've got a video program. We estimate the value based on what people have shared with us, the value to be a $197 gift package, and it's yours right now when you call our office for free, right? You can call our office. It's a free gift package. You can call 602-246-3389 and get your hands on this incredible arsenal of tools that are going to bring you more clarity, more confidence, more direction, more capabilities, right? More freedom, more peace of mind. Grow your income potential. That and a whole lot more. So call our office at 602-246-3389 or visit our site at growthtofreedom.com/gift. That's growthtofreedom.com/gift to get your hands on this incredible gift package. And by the way, the reason we can make this package free to you is we're going to deliver it, most of it digitally, right? And then we will send some follow-up materials by the mail, but you'll get it delivered digitally. So make sure to leave your name and email address as part of the process, and we'll make sure to get that out to you. So step 1 is commitment. Step 2 is courage, having the courage. Step 3 is developing that capability, right? So you go from the commitment, I'm not sure, to courage. Okay, well, let me just do it. To capability, and now you start developing the skill sets. Again, it comes back to what we told. What's your genius, and what are you spending your time getting good at? So it's about developing new capabilities. Joe calls that you have I've heard Joe Polish mention that you have a mess in your life, which he got from Dan Sullivan. You have a mess when you have an obligation minus a commitment, right? Have you ever been in relationships like that? Hey, I know I have. How'd that work out for me? Not so good in business or personally. Anyway, so you have a mess when you have an obligation minus a commitment, right? And so you got to develop new capability. If you want your capabilities to match the opportunities in the world, I had a friend of mine years ago. He said, in order to make $100,000 a year, you needed to have the capabilities and the skills to generate $100,000. You want to generate $1 million, you need the skills and capabilities, along with one other important thing, the comfort zone. I find that capabilities and comfort zone are 2 things that hold us back, that get in the way of our results. You want to increase your life, you want to increase your growth, you want to increase your capabilities, increase your comfort zone, increase the skill set. What are you spending your time getting good at? So number 1 is commitment. Number 2 is courage. Number 3, capability. Number 4, that finally leads to confidence. I've heard it described a different way, the 4 stages of learning. When you're getting started, you have unconscious incompetence. That means you don't even know what you don't know. You've been there, right? I remember as a kid, it was like riding a bike. Only I was on training wheels, and then my parents took the one training wheel off. I was kind of riding sideways. Then you go from the unconscious incompetent to the next stage, which is unconscious competent, right? So now you actually know what you don't know. Then you go to another phase, which is conscious incompetent. It means you're not very good at it, right? You think about the first time or so that you do anything. And then ultimately you get to a place where you're consciously competent, right? or you're unconsciously confident. That means it's like you know it like the back of your hand. And that's what we want to help you do by the experts that we introduce here, right? So I want to challenge you, take action with what we're sharing with you. Identify, put those 2 questions in place we talked about today. I want you to think about what's your genius. Who are you at your very best? What are those things that if you were able to be front stage 60, 70, 80, 90% of the time, that would catapult your success? And it's a team sport. You can complement those talents and abilities with others, right? On our previous episode, we talked about collaborating with a genius network and how to do that. You can refer to that. Right? We talked about the monkey kingdom. It doesn't matter where you've been. It matters where you want to go. We talked about, the ability to change your life, change your associate. We talked about the 4 C's. We talked about the intro. We talked about the fun time tool. We talked about the 1-page strategy overall. And I hope this show has served you, right? I started the show, what would the outcome be that you'd like to accomplish? And what would the things getting in the way? Well, I think we've provided you clarity, capabilities, tools, blueprints, and strategies to be able to put in place to transform the quality of your life. But guess what? You've got to take action. And if there's something in the show that resonates with you today, I hope you'll repeat after me and repeat this. I'm a winner. I'm a champion. I'm the best. I deserve it. And you know what? You do. Thanks for being with us today. We'll look forward. Next week, we've got Dr. Christy Lopez talking about the FIT financial formula. We've got John Rulin coming up around the corner, John Corcoran, some incredible guests right around the corner. That and a whole lot more here on growththefreedom.com. Transform your life, business, and relationships. Thanks for being with us. Make it a great week.